Alright then, since lots of you gentlemen have been asking for it for quite a while, I must say, here it is. Now before I start, I'd just like to quickly say that even though you gentlemen consider me as some sort of pro in speaking or communication, I'm far from it. I still have a lot of attributes to work on to be even considered as an English language master. But since you gentlemen have been requesting it for over a year now, I thought it would be best to treat you lot with a video so that eventually I don't get run up the flagpole for being a selfish, ignorant bastard to my audience. But anyways, let's stop mucking about and get straight to it then, shall we? How can we improve our communication or speaking skills? Number 1, expand your vocabulary. And yes, when I say expand, I mean never stop expanding or learning new vocabularies. This is extremely important because a lot of the times when we try to make a smooth connection and a more vivid and solid interpretation within a sentence, we often had to use the appropriate verbs, adjectives, adverbs, phrases, synonyms, similes, and sometimes even slangs and puns to establish that clarity and seamlessness of a delivery. Now, if you don't have a broad range of vocabulary, you will tend to experience this form of hesitancy when you're trying to connect one part of the sentence to the other, especially when the conversation turns complex, causing you to mutter up and forced to utilize vaguely connective words to try to fill in the gaps, such as the word like, or you know, or sort of like, or even swear words like fucking blah blah blah. For example, one would say in a properly constructed sentence, James is a friend of mine. He is the typical run-of-the-mill type of cumbersome individual who always loved to come deliberately late to an event to portray himself as a complete and utter snob. That's a proper sentence. Now, in a communicatively inept form of sentence, it would sound like this. Yeah, I know James. He's the type of guy who always comes late and, like, fucking always trying to look alpha, you know? Just like that, you don't need a summa cum laude degree in English literature from Cambridge to spot which one is more vocabularily proficient, if that's an actual word. To expand your vocabulary, the simplest way you can do is to read books, listen to them, and watch documentaries. Like, I pretty much got most of my vocabulary from watching Top Gear and reading crime or murder mystery novels back in the day. Always try to have a dictionary in hand, or in this modern age, obviously, Google Dictionary by your side. Always try to spot those words that disconnect you from vividly interpreting what you read and what you listen. Usually, it's either in the form of complex adjectives, conjunctive adverbs, unique phrases, or even analogical similes. If you find those words that you couldn't form a clear connection to within a line in a book or within an explanation in a documentary that leads to an eventual comprehension of perception and pronunciation, stop for a while and find the meaning of those words in the dictionary so that you can build that solid understanding of what those words mean, how those words sound, and where you can utilize those words in a sentence. One tip though, make sure what you're reading and what you are watching or listening to is actually something you are interested in, as it will incentivize your desire to understand a lot more. Number 2, talk slowly. Yes, I know, a lot of you would say, oh, looky here, mate, telling us to talk slowly while you yourself talks like someone who's holding off his diarrhea from volcanically spluttering within his trousers. I'm still working on it, alright? I always get conflicted between wanting to present as much information as I can and wasting your time. And trust me, the last thing that I want from you is to have your precious time wasted. But anyways, talking slowly gives you the much needed micro intervals to properly think and construct your sentence before you say anything or continue in what you're saying. If you talk in the pace of the rap god, for most of us we would often stutter and eventually lost track of where we're at and what we're about to say, especially when we already have so much to say at our disposal. And we ended up actually having to stop completely and retrace our speeches to find where we left off, like the moment you went, wait, what was I about to say? Oh damn, I completely forgot. It's completely and utterly okay to take a pause, especially when you're trying to figure out the appropriate and optimal words to connect your sentence. Believe it or not, it's part of the process for improving your articulation. Even I, myself, in real life, still often had to pause and take 5 to 10 seconds to think of a proper word to connect and continue speaking, especially when I have to extensively describe a certain topic or subject. And yes, my current detriment is still getting carried away of speaking like the rap god when I'm excited to speak about something. Number 3, dive deeper. It's nothing to do with what's going on in the bedroom, okay, gentlemen, so take your mind off of that completely. Now, what I mean by diving deeper in this case is clearly knowing what you are talking about, being able to systematically and narratively elaborate the topics or subjects that you are speaking about. And that can only come from you having a respectful level of knowledge, experience, and immersion within those topics or subjects. It's simple, really. How can anyone intimately and intricately talk or describe about how it actually feels like playing a musical instrument if he or she never actually play any musical instrument? When you possess a significant level of relation and association with what you are speaking about or wanting to speak about, it's pretty much autopilot from there. You already have a predisposed account and representation of those topics or subjects in your mind, in which you can easily make a clear and detailed connection to and interpret them in such a way you narratively prefer. Number 4, focus on what you want to say rather than what others want to hear. I believe this is one of the crucial points that is rarely talked about when it comes to speaking or controlling a conversation. A lot of the times, especially for those individuals with anxiety and those who lack the confidence in delivering a speech or leading the conversation, is all to do with their clinically underlying sense of necessity not to offend or bore the other person. So much so that they had to flip the script and actually deviate from what they're originally going to say just for the sake of impressing the other person or a group of people. This occurs quite a lot, especially when you are talking to women, as we like to market ourselves at the best possible light to appear high value. The main problem with this is that you always have to be on guard to not display any inconsistencies, which, by the way, you are bound to do eventually as you get a lot more comfortable with the conversation. And when the other person or parties continuously spot those inconsistencies, it'll pretty much turn into an embarrassment on your end, and your reputation and credibility will suffer because of it. You often have to unnecessarily escalate, undermine, fabricate, and complicate your words further to disguise your true intentions, which can often cause you to stutter profusely and significantly reduce the amount and duration of your eye contact you're going to make in order to come up with more crowd-pleasing words. Say what you have to say and what you want to say in a respectful tone and manner. Disagreements, arguments, and debates are all later worries to pay attention to or even dismiss entirely. Always put focus on your objectives and delivery in order to achieve that definition and consistency that you are looking for. Now, of course, it's all situational. Sometimes you have no choice but to put your best face forward. And finally, number 5, practice. Practice, practice, practice. This is, without a doubt, the most important of them all. Like everything, theory will only take you so far. What's more important is to practice, cultivate, and reap the results that you want. Especially in this case of getting more proficient in speaking, it's very similar to getting proficient in a musical instrument or a martial art or any productive and practical skills for that matter. You have to put a lot of time into it in order for your physicality and mentality to slowly adjust and eventually adapt. Sets and reps, gentlemen. Just remember that when you're looking for a simpler analogy to remove your doubt against ever achieving any form of proficiency in anything. Engage in deep conversation with people. Try to intricately describe your opinions or even interview yourself for the sake of practicing sentence construction, word placements, pronunciations, and tempos. Remember, gentlemen, the core foundation of masculinity is always about taking action, venture, and conquer. It's always the same with everything, even in becoming fluent and articulate in speaking or communicating. And that's it. Thank you for watching.